Hitler cheated. His famous Blitzkrieg or lightning war was nothing more than a copycat tactic. He stole the playbook on war from one of the greatest military minds in the world, Napoleon Bonaparte. Hitler thought that the tactic that worked for one of the greatest military leaders in the world would work for him as well. Unfortunately, he failed to realize one fatal flaw long before Hitler was even born. Before tanks, bombers, or radio signals, Napoleon Bonaparte was already mastering the art of rapid warfare. He didn't call it Blitzkrieg, but the effect was the same. Move fast, strike hard, and leave your enemy too dazed to react. In 1805 at Ulm, Napoleon didn't win with a glorious battle. He won by simply outmaneuvering his opponent. His army marched faster than anyone thought possible, swung around the Austrian flanks, and boxed them in before they could even figure out what was happening. The result? No major clash, just thousands of Austrians surrendering without firing a shot. Then came Austerlitz. Napoleon pretended to be weak, baited the Allies into attacking him, then turned the tables in a flash. It wasn't brute strength that won the day. It was timing, deception, and hitting where it hurt the most. What made all this possible was something revolutionary for its time: Napoleon's corps system. Instead of one giant blob of an army moving slowly and clumsily, he divided his forces into semi-independent corps, each one capable of fighting on its own, but designed to snap together like a fist when needed. It gave him flexibility, speed, and overwhelming force, exactly when and where he wanted it. Fast forward a century later, and Hitler's generals are flipping through the same playbook, only with tanks and planes instead of horses and muskets. In 1940, when the world expected Germany to attack France head-on, Hitler did what Napoleon might have done. He went around. Instead of smashing into the heavily fortified Maginot Line, German panzers tore through the Ardennes, a forest the French thought was impassable. It was the same strategy Napoleon used when he crossed the Alps to surprise the Austrians at Marengo. Go where the enemy feels safe, hit them where they're unprepared, then move faster than they can think. But Hitler added something Napoleon never had: radios and air power. This let his forces stay in constant communication and coordinate with terrifying precision. German Stuka dive bombers would scream down from the sky just as tanks broke through below, creating shock, awe, and chaos. The result? France collapsed in 6 weeks. The modern world watched in disbelief. But for anyone who had studied Napoleon, it was déjà vu. The tactic worked, at least in the beginning. Before we move on to the next section, please don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video so far. While everyone thought that Hitler was a master war tactician, he was just a student blindly copying his master. And it's this blindness that would lead to his demise in 1945. But for a time, the world thought that Hitler was unstoppable. Before everything fell apart, before Stalingrad and the snow and the smoking ruins of Berlin, Hitler's war machine looked unstoppable. And it was all thanks to one terrifyingly effective strategy: Blitzkrieg. When World War II began in September 1939, the world expected a repeat of the First World War. Trench lines, slow advances, years of grinding stalemates. But Hitler had something else in mind. His first test of Blitzkrieg came in Poland. In just over a month, the country was crushed. German tanks punched through the borders while the Luftwaffe pounded supply lines and railroads. Polish forces, many still relying on cavalry, were overwhelmed before they could even form a proper defense. The world took notice. But Poland was just the warm-up. The real shock came in the spring of 1940. France had one of the largest, best-equipped armies in the world, and they had built a fortress, the Maginot Line, designed to hold back any German invasion. What they didn't expect was that Hitler wouldn't even bother to attack it. Instead, he launched his tanks through the Ardennes, a forest the French had labeled impassable. It wasn't. The German panzers raced through, tore open the Allied lines, and reached the English Channel in just 2 weeks. The French and British were caught in a trap, split and encircled before they could react. Paris fell without a real fight. France surrendered in just 6 weeks, something even Napoleon would have found hard to believe. In Scandinavia, Blitzkrieg proved its flexibility. Hitler sent troops into Denmark and Norway in April 1940. Denmark fell in 6 hours, the shortest military campaign of the war. Norway took longer, but again, speed and coordination ruled the day. Troops landed by sea and air at the same time. No one had seen warfare like this before. Then came the Balkans. In 1941, Hitler turned south. Yugoslavia and Greece had hoped their mountains would protect them. They were wrong. Germany launched a lightning-fast assault. Yugoslavia collapsed in 11 days. Greece fell shortly after, despite British help. German paratroopers even took the island of Crete in a dramatic airborne assault. It was risky, bloody, but successful. No one had ever seized a major island entirely by paratroopers before. And of course, there was North Africa. Rommel, the Desert Fox, used Blitzkrieg tactics on open sand. His Afrika Korps moved fast, hit hard, and kept the British on the run for over a year. He didn't have the numbers, but with speed and surprise, he made every tank count. By the summer of 1941, Hitler had conquered most of Europe: Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries, France, Yugoslavia, Greece, all crushed in a series of stunning, swift campaigns. Blitzkrieg wasn't just working, it was rewriting the rules of modern war. At that moment, it seemed like Hitler could do no wrong. Blitzkrieg gave him victory after victory, campaign after campaign. But what he didn't realize was that the very strategy he loved so much, the Lightning War, relied on more than just speed and tanks. It relied on the enemy being unprepared, on supply lines staying intact, and on battles being quick. Once any of that started to break down, the whole machine would begin to stall. But in those early years, from 1939 to 1941, Blitzkrieg was the sharpest sword in Hitler's hand, and for a while, no one knew how to stop it. Eventually, the German war machine stopped working because Hitler forgot to account for one simple thing. The main reason Hitler failed is simple. He copied Napoleon's tactics without adapting them for the modern world. He was obsessed with speed, surprise, and overwhelming force, ideas that worked for Napoleon in 1805. But Napoleon adapted to the realities of his time. Hitler didn't. He slapped tanks and planes onto an 1800s playbook and expected it to work everywhere, including Russia. What he didn't grasp was that Blitzkrieg only works if your enemy can't recover. France in 1940 couldn't. The Soviet Union could, and did. Their vast land, deep reserves, and industrial strength swallowed Hitler's army whole. Blitzkrieg stalled in the snow, and unlike Napoleon, Hitler refused to adjust, all while neglecting the three principles of warface. So why did Napoleon's version of Blitzkrieg succeed, while Hitler's collapsed? First, geography. Napoleon fought in Central Europe, where roads were passable and distances between key cities were manageable. His corps could move fast, link up quickly, and keep pressure on the enemy. Hitler tried the same thing, but in the Soviet Union, a country so massive and underdeveloped that movement itself became the enemy. Blitzkrieg depends on speed, but when roads turn to mud and supply lines stretch hundreds of miles, that speed dies. Then there's the opponent. Napoleon faced feudal coalitions, slow-moving aristocratic armies that couldn't respond fast enough. Hitler faced Stalin's USSR, an industrialized, militarized monster with tanks, trains, and factories relocated deep behind the front lines. The Soviets didn't break. They bled, adapted, and came back harder. But maybe the biggest difference? How they handled failure. After the catastrophe of 1812, Napoleon regrouped. He tried to learn from the disaster. It wasn't enough to save his empire, but at least he recognized what went wrong. Hitler didn't. He doubled down. Instead of adapting, he put his faith in so-called miracle weapons. V-2 rockets, jet fighters, anything to avoid facing the truth. He thought technology would save him, while his troops froze and starved in a country too vast to conquer. Both men thought speed would bring victory in Russia. Both were wrong. But only one was willing to ask, why? Hitler copied Napoleon's strategy but ignored the lessons behind it. He saw speed and glory, not the limits. Blitzkrieg works only when the enemy is unprepared, and Hitler found out the hard way that the Soviet Union was anything but. He made the same mistakes. Two fronts, broken supply lines, blind ambition, but refused to learn. Napoleon adapted. Hitler didn't. One became a tragic legend, the other a cautionary tale. In the end, history punished the copycat, far more than the original. A bad student copies without understanding. Hitler repeated Napoleon's mistakes, and lost even faster. History doesn't forgive those who ignore its lessons. But do you think that if Napoleon had access to tanks and airplanes, would he have conquered all of Europe, maybe even the world? Or would he have made the same fatal mistakes as Hitler? Here's another video history buffs enjoyed watching. Bye for now.